My brother-in-law took my business idea and registered it as his own. Family doesn't sue family, he said with a smile. My husband told me to drop it. You'll only make things worse. I bit my tongue. But when I walked into that conference room 6 months later, I'm 43. I've lived in San Diego for most of my life. I'm not flashy. I'm not one of those big, loud personalities you see on Shark Tank or LinkedIn. I just work hard. I spent almost 11 years in medical billing and administration. I know it doesn't sound exciting, but it's what I'm good at. I've worked in private clinics, urgent cares, you name it. I've seen firsthand how broken the billing systems are, how much time and money clinics waste dealing with insurance claims, coding errors, and outsourced services that never pick up the phone. About 2 years ago, I started thinking seriously about fixing it. Not in a big, world-changing way. Just something simple, efficient, and fair. I started sketching out a business model, flat-rate billing support for small practices. Clean pricing. Reliable service. Transparent reports. The kind of thing I knew my former employers would jump on in a heartbeat. I didn't even tell many people at first. Just my husband, Rob, and eventually his younger brother, Nate. Nate is one of those people who talks like he's always one deal away from making it big. He's in tech, sort of. He bounces around from one contract job to another, always chasing something disruptive. I never took him too seriously. He's got that smooth, startup bro vibe, smiles too much, says stuff like pivot and scale every other sentence. But he was family, and I figured maybe he could give me some feedback. So I told him my idea. I even showed him the pitch deck I'd been working on, my market research, pricing tiers, customer pain points, even the sample copy I was drafting for the website. He asked a lot of questions. How would I build it? What tech stack? What would onboarding look like for a clinic? I answered everyone. At the time, I felt proud, like someone was finally taking me seriously. That was around March of last year. Then in October, a former coworker sent me a link out of the blue. This sounds a lot like what you were working on, she said. I clicked it. It was a polished website for a new billing company. Their headline? Simple, transparent billing support for small clinics. The exact words I'd used. The site had the same 3-tier flat-rate model, the same sample dashboard I'd shown Nate in a PDF. Even the copy, some of it was word for word what I wrote. And the founder? Nathan Ellis. I felt sick. I read that site 10 times over. I went back to my Google Drive and opened every file I'd ever shared. I hadn't emailed anything to Nate, but I had shown him drafts from my laptop. He must have taken notes, or pictures, or memorized enough to run with it. I showed Rob. He barely looked at it. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, he said. Besides, you never launched your version. He did. It's not like you had a patent or anything. I couldn't believe it. This was his brother. And he was treating it like I was the one causing a problem. I brought it up again a few days later, calmly, carefully. Rob just shut me down. You'll only make things worse, he said. You think suing Nate is going to fix anything? You'll tear the whole family apart. So I bit my tongue. Thanksgiving was hell. Nate acted like nothing had happened. Told everyone how blessed he felt to be running his own company. He even had the nerve to say, you never know when the right idea will just hit you out of nowhere. Rob squeezed my leg under the table like he was warning me to keep quiet. I smiled. I said nothing, but I didn't forget. Over the next few months, I collected everything. I rebuilt my original timeline, Google Doc timestamps, calendar notes, screenshots of texts where I mentioned what I was working on, emails with old coworkers. I spoke with a friend who used to practice IP law in San Diego. She confirmed I had a case. Maybe not a slam-dunk lawsuit, but enough to raise some real problems for Nate if I wanted to push it. I didn't tell Rob. I didn't tell anyone. Then in early April, I found out about the Southern California Healthcare Tech Symposium, a big regional event, mostly startups and providers showcasing new tools. Guess who was one of the innovative healthcare startups giving a keynote demo? Nate. His company was listed front and center. I registered under my maiden name, bought a ticket for the industry press sessions, drove myself. Rob thought I was spending the weekend with an old college friend in Santa Barbara. The conference was in a hotel ballroom near Irvine. I got there early and sat near the back, right under the main camera. When Nate walked on stage, he looked like he was born for it. Suit, polished pitch deck, even a little fake humility. But he wasn't ready for what came next. And that's where things started to turn. I didn't go there to make a scene. I didn't stand up and shout or throw a drink in his face. That's not me. But I had a plan and I was ready. Nate was mid-pitch when he introduced a case study of a fictional clinic that had cut administrative costs by 30% using their platform. Every detail matched a sample clinic I used in my original pitch, down to the fake name I'd given the office manager. I sat there, watching him lie with confidence, using my ideas, my numbers, my voice. After the session ended, people swarmed him, investors, health execs, tech recruiters. I waited until it quieted down and approached one of the event organizers. I told her, politely, that I was working on a story about founder fraud and had questions about the vetting process for speakers. I dropped a few details, dates, names, company similarities. She looked concerned. Not angry. Curious. I gave her a USB drive with a clean copy of my timeline, along with screenshots, deck drafts, and a list of file timestamps.
No accusations.
Just facts. By the next day, I'd emailed that same package to 3 of Nate's known investors, one of whom I recognized from LinkedIn. I said I wasn't threatening legal action yet, but I wanted to make sure they were aware that the IP at the center of their investment might not be entirely original. No one replied.
Not yet.
But I knew it was just the beginning. Back home, Rob could tell something was off. I didn't say anything. I was quiet, focused. For the first time in months, I felt a little in control again. 2 weeks later, things started to crack. Nate showed up at our place on a random Thursday night. No warning. He looked panicked, sweaty, red-eyed, not the smooth guy I was used to. "Why are people asking if I stole my company idea?" he demanded. "What the hell did you do?" I just stared at him. I didn't need to answer. He knew. Rob lost it. He took Nate's side immediately. "What is wrong with you?" he yelled. "This is my family. Why would you go behind my back like this?" I snapped. "Because you chose him over me. Over and over. I came to you first, Rob. I asked for your help. You told me to drop it." He didn't say anything after that. He just left the room. After that night, everything in the house shifted. Rob was cold. Short answers, barely any eye contact. He started staying late at work. He slept in the guest room more than once. It was like I'd betrayed him, not the other way around. Meanwhile, the ripples kept spreading. One of Nate's smaller investors backed out, citing concerns about founder integrity. He tried to downplay it, but I heard through a mutual friend that he was scrambling behind the scenes, trying to push out new updates, new clients, anything to prove momentum. Then I got a call from a woman named Trina, an investor relations associate at one of the VC firms Nate had pitched. She'd reviewed my documents. She asked thoughtful questions. She said, "I don't know what you plan to do next, but you might want to consider your legal options before he buries this." I hung up and realized something. This wasn't about revenge anymore.
Not just that.
This was about showing them, him, Rob, all of them, that I wasn't just someone they could brush aside. I built something, and I was going to take it back. 3 weeks after that call with Trina, I got a certified letter from a law firm in Los Angeles. It was from Nate's attorneys. They were demanding that I cease and desist from defamatory interference with his company's operations. They claimed I was spreading false information to harm his business and reputation. I read it 3 times, in silence, sitting at my kitchen table. The same kitchen where I'd once walked Nate through my business concept while Rob stirred pasta behind us. I wasn't even angry. I was calm.
Cold.
I took a picture of the letter and sent it to Trina with a subject line. "So, he's lawyering up." She called me less than an hour later. "That was a dumb move," she said. "It opens the door for discovery." I didn't fully understand what that meant at the time, but I do now. Rob didn't know about the letter until he found it sitting in our mail bin. He brought it into our bedroom, holding it like it was something dangerous. "What the hell is this?" he asked. Your brother's trying to shut me up, I said. It won't work. This is exactly what I said would happen, he snapped. You're tearing everything apart. No, I said. Nate did that when he stole from me. You just helped him do it. The words hung in the air. And for the first time, I think Rob actually saw it. He didn't defend Nate.
He didn't say anything.
He just sat down on the bed and rubbed his eyes like a man who suddenly realized he'd been on the wrong side of a war. The next day, I hired my own lawyer. Not just for defense, but to prepare a claim. We filed paperwork for misappropriation of trade secrets and breach of implied confidence. My lawyer said the case was narrow, but credible. The evidence was there. The timeline was airtight. If it went public, it would be ugly. And then, the real twist. 2 months into the legal back and forth, a junior developer who had worked with Nate's startup reached out to me on LinkedIn. I'll call him Marcus. He said he wanted to talk, off the record. We met in a coffee shop in La Mesa. He looked nervous. Said he didn't want to get involved, but felt guilty. Nate gave me this document early last year, he said. Said it was market research from a consultant. But it had all this super detailed stuff, pricing models, client personas, even fake clinic names. I thought it was weird. He pulled out a thumb drive. After I heard about the lawsuit, I looked at the file properties. It wasn't created by a consultant. It was a Google document. And the original author? He slid it across the table. It was you. My hand shook a little when I took it. That one file, just one, proved that Nate had taken my exact material and used it as internal documentation for his company. It wasn't just inspiration. It was theft. Documented. Time-stamped. Traceable. My lawyer called it a smoking gun. Nate had no idea it was coming. And he had no idea what else I had planned next. We filed the lawsuit in San Diego Superior Court on a Monday morning. Nate got served at his company's office downtown, right in front of his assistant and 2 interns. I didn't do that to humiliate him, but I didn't try to avoid it either. The lawsuit spelled everything out: theft of intellectual property, misappropriation of trade secrets, and damages related to reputational and financial loss. We included Marcus's file, the original Google Doc, metadata, and all. We listed every timestamped draft, every email, every witness who had seen me working on the idea over a year before Nate's launch. I still remember the phone call 2 days later.
It was Rob.
He says you're trying to destroy him. I didn't say anything. Did you really have to take it this far? I finally answered. He stole from me. And you let him. That was the last time Rob and I spoke as husband and wife. He moved out a week later. Took a short-term lease near Mission Valley. No big fight. Just silence and the sound of boxes being taped shut. After everything, I realized I'd never actually been his priority. Not really. By summer, the pressure on Nate's company started closing in. One of his key investors froze funding. Another demanded a full audit of all internal documents and sourcing materials. When they found out how much of the core platform was based on stolen content, they threatened to sue him unless he settled fast and stepped down. My lawyer got a call. Nate wanted to settle. At first, I said no. I wanted it to go to court. I wanted him exposed in front of everyone. But my attorney explained, a smart settlement can be louder than a trial if you structure it right. So we negotiated terms. I was quiet during most of it. I let my lawyer do the talking. But I insisted on 3 things. 1. A full, public admission of wrongdoing, to be released as a statement on the company's website for no less than 60 days.
2.
Full rights and ownership of all internal materials, branding assets, and the client list, essentially transferring the company back to me. 3. A personal written apology, not some PR garbage. A letter in his handwriting, admitting what he did. He agreed to all of it. The company rebranded under a new name, my name. I brought on a new tech team, hired Marcus, and kept 3 of the best clients. The rest, I let go. I didn't want anything Nate had touched that I couldn't clean up. His apology came in a crumpled envelope, delivered by courier. 3 pages long. Weak, full of excuses. But he wrote it. And I kept it. Rob tried to come back a few months later. He said he made a mistake. that he was scared and didn't know how to choose sides. But that was the problem. He thought there were sides. There weren't. There was just right and wrong. And when it counted, he chose silence. I never went back. Now, 2 years later, my platform is growing. We have 15 clients, a wait list, and strong referral traffic. I don't post much online, but I keep a copy of Nate's old site archived on a hard drive. Just as a reminder. Sometimes, revenge isn't about shouting. It's about surviving long enough to take back what's yours, and making sure the people who betrayed you see it happen. I didn't burn bridges. I rebuilt them, and let them watch from the other side while I walked across.